This is Hopkins. The Washington Examiner reported on dangers of an EMP in the United States. On July 31st, 2013, in an online video, former CIA Director Jim Woolsey explained in detail how an enemy of the United States could successfully deliver an EMP attack so as to take our electrical grid out.
We are at war now with those who want to take down our electricity grid. Nobody is really in charge of security for the grid, and no single intelligence with a staff that is planning how to deal with these threats as they come up is in place. They don't exist. We are not in a position to respond really at all, much less promptly. And every 100 or 200 years, a huge electromagnetic pulse from the sun, a so-called Carrington event, can have a massive effect on the electromagnetic sphere of the Earth. And it is not something that has to be, or necessarily will be likely to be, carried out by an adversary. It can be carried out by the sun. Hank said everything's designed to come over the pole at us, and we're defending over the pole.
Right.
With a fractional orbital bombardment system, which the Soviets invented and which we've had too, you could launch to the south, come around the South Pole, and detonate an EMP shot above the United States without ever having passed within the path of the radars and defense systems. Now, it doesn't mean they couldn't be reorganized to point south, in part. That's, right. I mean, Hank's just told you basically how to do that. But it hadn't been done. So today you have a vulnerability to the type of threat that he's describing coming around the South Pole without any even detection, much less defense.
He explains the very path the ordnance needs to travel in order to avoid our anti-aircraft and EMP prevention web structure completely. In short, he gave our enemies an invitation to deliver a successful EMP attack without consequence. Then we were informed of a global EMP threat, saying the Earth barely missed taking a massive solar punch in the teeth 2 weeks ago, an electromagnetic pulse so big that it could have knocked out power, cars, and iPhones throughout the United States, and I don't know how they picked the United States for that. 2 EMP experts told Secrets that the EMP flashed through the Earth's typical orbit around the Sun about 2 weeks before the planet got there. The world escaped an EMP catastrophe. Really? Really? The gaping hole in the Sun's corona is not equatorial. The Earth could not have been affected by any ejection of a radioactive flare, or EMP, because our orbit around the Sun is an heliocentric equatorial orbit. In other words, the Earth orbits around the center of the Sun like a big man's belt. There is no way any solar flare ejected northward from the northern pole region of the Sun would ever come anywhere near the Earth. Then a scientist of sorts goes on Fox News.
This part that's missing, the reason it's dark, is that whole chunk of the Sun basically ripped off, blew out, and is coming our way at about 2 million miles an hour.
Our way.
Our way.
Unfortunately, he didn't get the memo that this is nothing like a huge chunk of the Sun missing. It's a hole in the Sun's corona, which is like an outer plasma atmosphere on the Sun, which heals itself rather quickly. And any CME from that gaping hole would never have reached the Earth, not to mention the fact that other heliospheric telescopes observing other densities and attributes of the Sun showed a perfectly round, unadulterated solar image. Remember, timing is everything. Just now we are being told HARP is closing down operations. The truth is, HARP is changing hands. DARPA is taking over operations. You remember DARPA, the most advanced and in many ways most twisted forms of weaponry technology ever conceived come out of DARPA. Many people don't know this, but HARP and other TTAs, Tesla Tech Arrays, around the world are capable of large-scale EMP attacks. It is my considered opinion that if no one takes the invitation to EMP the United States and other parts of the world without impunity, the powers that be are going to use HARP and other TTAs to create EMP pulses in the United States and worldwide and blame it on the sun. I have already shown that we are lasering the sun to create CMEs in order to allow for greater instability in the magnetospheric wells around the Earth for Einstein Bridge program for deep space travel. In other words, for wormholes. In order to fold space for deep space travel. It is evident by these images this very gaping coronal hole was created by this kind of assault, continuing to laser the sun with multiple heliospheric laser satellites, only in the portion of a weakened corona to force a massive ejection. Here is our sun's corona over a 3-year period, beginning when the sun was pristine, before these increasing and ongoing laser assaults. And as you can see, as time goes on, the damage becomes more and more significant, taking on different patterns that are obviously man-made. But up until this point, even when massive equatorial coronal ejections have been opened up by these lasers in a single line across the sun that deliver their radioactive EMPs to Earth because of the Earth's magnetosphere and atmosphere, all we experience is temporary communications glitches. And if you don't believe me, believe your eyes. Here is a NASA image documenting a demonstration by 6 heliospheric satellite lasers converging to burn a hole in the sun's corona at its equator, just as they seem to have done all along the side of the sun's equator. DHS shills will insist all you're seeing is a normal light reflection on the camera lens during a CME. I say to those shills, then explain those pulses going downward into the convergence. And further explain why none of the other CMEs have them. Even in any of the other images that we've seen here, not one in all those CMEs. They did this knowing the ejection about to burst forth from the sun's equator would assault the Earth. Now we're getting reports of Snowden talking about a solar flare kill shot and attempts by FEMA right now at hoarding foodstuffs. I'm getting reports from other sources that are saying those attempts are successful. There is a dread shortage of emergency foodstuffs. I will say it again. It is my considered opinion that if no one takes the invitation to EMP the United States and other parts of the world without impunity the United States officials have given them, the powers that be are going to use DARPA, now wielding HARP, and other TTAs to create EMP pulses in the U.S. and worldwide and blame it on the sun. This is Rev Michelle Hopkins. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.